Hello, dear ones. Welcome to the Dream Lab, a safe, inspiring place for you and God to dream without limits what you most desire to be, do, and have in your life right now. Every episode, I hold space for you to be irreplaceably you, to explore your unique design and discover your dreams as a reflection of God's heart for the world around you. I am your host, your guide, your encourager-in-chief, Christina B. Come on in to the Dream Lab. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Dream Lab podcast. This is episode 12. It's called Living Your Dreams Means Connecting to Your Own Heart. And to get started, I just want to revisit really quickly a little bit of episode 10, but from a slightly different perspective. Episode 10 is called Conquering Negative Self-Talk. What you think about and say to yourself will determine your results. If you have not heard that episode, please go back and listen because it's that important. I wanted to read a passage to you from the book of Matthew where Jesus says, this is Matthew 11, he says, "Verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith." Now, that is from the King James Version. I don't really like the King James Version quite so much because of the these and the thous and the saiths and things like that. But this translation really hits that very last phrase, he shall have whatever he says. You shall have whatever you say. You can have whatever you say. I want to say that one more time. You can have whatever you say. That really hit me. For some reason, when I said it to myself over and over again, you can have whatever you say, I was suddenly aware, oh my goodness, what have I been saying? What are the words that are coming out of my mouth? And I want to take you back a little bit and give you an example from my own life. As you know, if you've listened to some of the earlier episodes, that my mom died in 2016, and I moved back to my hometown on the East Coast from Los Angeles. My dear friends, Chelsea and Elkin, they were the very first two Dream Lab participants. And in the Dream Lab, they decided that they wanted to write Broadway musicals together. So they started moving in that direction and began working on a Broadway musical called Marian, about Marian Anderson, the first Black opera singer. And they were coming to Philadelphia to do research on Marian Anderson and then to New York City to do a special event to generate some good press and to meet some people in New York all about, Marian Anderson. And they said, hey, we're going to be so close to you. Do you want to come with us? It'd be really fun if you could meet us and come to Philly and New York with us. Oh my gosh, my heart leapt. I was so heartbroken after the death of my mom, and I was just not in a very good place. And the thought of two very dear friends of mine coming so close to me, my heart just jumped for joy. And I was like, oh my goodness, yes, I would love that. And Elkin is such a dear soul. I love her so much. She said, oh my goodness, that would be amazing. And you're such a good researcher. We would love to have your help doing some research at the University of Pennsylvania, because that was where they had a lot of Marian Anderson's original letters and a lot of her journals and documentation and things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love research. Yes. Happy to help you. Would love to meet you. Well, she said, oh my goodness, let me see if I can find a little bit of money to pay you. I'll find some money to pay for your expenses. Give me a few days and I'll call you back. When we hung up the phone, I sat there in stunned silence because I was so excited for this. And at the same time, my heart was so accustomed to disappointment and things not working out that I could feel these words and thoughts bubbling up inside my mind like, oh, you just watch. It's never going to happen. I won't get to go. I'm going to be disappointed. And I didn't say those words. I thought the thoughts. And in that moment, I really felt like God's gentle chastisement to me in that moment was, if you say those words out of your mouth that you're thinking in your head right now, I cannot give you this gift. And I'll tell you, it took everything in me to keep my mouth shut for the next few days until Elkin called me back and said, oh my goodness, I found a little bit of money in our budget. We are going to pay for your expenses. We're going to pay for your train ride to Philadelphia. We'll pay for your bus ride to New York. We'll pay for your train ride back to Pennsylvania. And we're going to give you a little bit of money for helping us out. Oh my gosh, I was flabbergasted. I was like, "Oh my goodness, okay." I wish I could tell you that that was like a really powerful lesson learned for the last time, but it wasn't. I just use that example to illustrate to you. It is really, really, really important for all of us to really watch what we say. I want to read that passage to you from a different translation, so just so you can get the understanding of what I think Jesus is trying to say to the disciples here. So Jesus answered and said to them, "Have faith in God, for assuredly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, 'Be removed and be cast into the sea,' and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that those things he says will be done, he will have whatever he says. Therefore, I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray, believe that you receive them and you will have them." Now, that is from the New King James. And look at how many times Jesus uses the word say or says. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times in 3 verses. So it's really important, the words that we say. If you're not sure what the condition of your heart is right now, just ask God to show you or be mindful of the words that you're speaking. The Bible is replete with many more examples of verses. And it doesn't matter if you're not a Christian, like you don't have to be a Christian to listen to the Dream Lab podcast. Obviously, I welcome anyone to come and listen, and because we're all journeying and learning this stuff together. I think you probably know on some level that your thoughts and your attitude is really important and will determine your outcomes on many levels, right? So if you have a grateful heart, you're going to get more things to be grateful for, more wonderful blessings to be grateful for. But if you allow like anger and resentment and bitterness to build up, you're going to struggle. I think all of us are aware of that on some level. So let me just read to you really quickly Proverbs 18:21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. What you say can preserve life or destroy it. So you must accept the consequences of your words. That's the Good News translation. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it and indulge it will eat its fruits and bear the consequences of their words. That's from the Amplified Bible. And from the NIV, the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. I'll just share a couple more examples. In Mark 11, Jesus curses the fig tree. He says with his mouth, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And the disciples all heard him say it, which I think is really interesting because when they went back, the tree was dead and withered. In John 11, Jesus calls to Lazarus. Lazarus says in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out," and Lazarus is raised from the dead. James 3 talks about you can put a bit in the mouth of a horse and steer the entire animal, and horses are huge. So that's very telling. And at the very end of that passage, it says, "Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing," which is to imply that we get to choose how we use the words of our mouth. And in Isaiah 55, it says, "For as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return there without watering the earth and making it produce and sprout and providing seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so will my word which goes out of my mouth. It will not return to me empty without accomplishing what I desire and without succeeding in the purpose for which I sent it." There's another verse in scripture that talks about like what the condition of our heart is, like out of a man's heart, his mouth speaks. And I got to tell you, I went through a really, really, really long season where my heart and my mouth were just spewing all of the pain and disappointment that I was feeling. So it's like a two-sided coin, one coin, two sides. We have the power to speak life or death. So I would encourage you to just meditate on this for a little while. And if you can get still and quiet long enough, just put your hand on your heart and close your eyes and just inquire, like, "Heart, how do you feel right now? What is going on? How can I tune in to the desires of my heart and the condition of my heart? Am I sad? Am I happy? Am I joyful? Am I fearful?" If we have unhealed wounds and unmet needs in our hearts, our words are going to reflect that. And if you would prefer to look at this from a slightly different perspective, Caroline Leaf in her book, Who Switched Off My Brain, and she may have written another book since then. It's been a number of years since I read that book, but she talks about we have three brains, basically. We have the brain inside our skull, we have a heart brain, and then we have a gut brain. The heart brain and the gut brain both have just as many neural pathways as the brain in our skull, which I think is fascinating. And Greg Braden in all of his research with the Heart Math Institute also demonstrates this unequivocally, that scientifically the gut and the heart have neural pathways that actually do thinking and feeling. And let me just tell this one other story. I read on two different blogs and I heard from like two different people in podcasts that the communication, and I said this in one of the earlier episodes when I was explaining the central nervous system. The brain and the body communicate, and 80% of the communication that travels between the brain and the body travels actually in the direction of from the body to the brain, not the other way around. And I couldn't find any evidence or physiological explanation as to why or how this happens. And then I was listening to a podcast with Dr. Gundry. He was on the Wendy Myers Detox podcast. This was a couple months back. And I was just, listening and eating my lunch. And then Dr. Gundry said this. He said, when he was a general surgeon before he had done his cardiology residency, they used to do like vagus nerve surgeries on people when they had like some sort of gut issue. I can't remember what he said. You'll have to go back and look for his interview on the Wendy Myers Detox podcast, which I can't believe. I was just perfectly horrified to hear him say that they actually just cut the vagus nerve of people. They do a minor surgery, open up a little incision in the side of someone's neck, which is primarily where the vagus nerve travels through, from the brain down through the neck and into the gut and other organs. And he said the vagus, for every one fiber of the vagus nerve that communicates signals from the brain down to the body, the vagus nerve has 9 fibers that communicate information from the body to the brain. And the body does not speak in words. It speaks in sensations. And until we develop mastery of listening to what those sensations are and discerning what our needs are in any given moment, we're going to be really challenged to tune into our heart and find out what our deepest heart's desires are, or even like what we need or what needs we might be suppressing because we're in such a survival mode, like a state of fight, flight, freeze. All that to say, I do not do this perfectly. I wouldn't even say that I'm a master at this, but I am a student, and I want to just share the things that I've been learning in this particular episode of the Dream Lab, because we are coming to a conclusion of the content of the workshop, of the course, which is, if you don't even know what the desires of your heart are, it's going to be really hard to pursue them. Now, I know if you are a Christian, some of you might be thinking of that verse in scripture that says, like, the heart is deceitful above all else. And yes, that is true. But there's also many, many other verses that talk about the beauty of the heart and why it's important for us to guard it. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the wellspring of life. And many others that communicate the need for us to be really mindful of the condition of our heart and taking the desires and the matters of our heart, the sorrows of our heart, the joys of our heart to God in fellowship in the context of our relationship for communion. I hope this is making sense, and I hope that this is really encouraging you. Luke 6:45 says, "A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of." So if you're not sure what the condition of your heart is right now, I just encourage you to get still and quiet, put your hand on your heart and tune in and just invite God into that moment with you and just say, like, where have I been neglecting the needs of my own soul, my own heart? And ask God to show you. There are many other passages of scripture in both the Old and New Testaments, in Psalms and Proverbs and James and the epistles that talk about not only the heart, but also the power of our words. Our words have creative power, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. I mean, you can see that in Genesis when God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Only we can stand guard over the thoughts of our mind, the condition of our heart, and the words that we speak. So, beloved, I am here to tell you that I am on the journey with you. This is so important. And I think this is really a key that a lot of us might be missing, especially in this day and age when we are all experiencing greater and greater levels of stress. And the world itself is living in a state of fight, flight, freeze, far greater than what I think all of us realized. Let me just give you two more examples from the Bible. In Luke 7, Jesus was going to the centurion's house because his servant was sick. And the centurion said, "Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I do not deserve for you to come under my roof. That is why I did not even consider myself worthy to come to you, but say the word, and my servant shall be healed." And this centurion is the one that Jesus applauded and said, no greater faith has he seen. And in Mark 5, remember the woman with the issue of blood? She said to herself, "If I could just touch the hem of his garment, I shall be made whole." So there was something about her, the condition of her heart was pure faith and trust. And she realized and said out loud, "If I could just do this one thing, I'm going to have whatever it is that I want." And even Peter said, like when he when he saw Jesus walking on the water, he was like, "Tell me to come to you on the water." So he used his own words in that passage to do something pretty miraculous. Okay, I will leave you to do some additional studies on the creative power of our words and how our words are a reflection of the condition of our hearts. And in closing for this episode, I just wanted to leave you with some passages from the book Regrets of the Dying by Bonnie Ware. She was a palliative care worker, and she worked with many, many dying patients in the last weeks of their lives. And when she asked them about any regrets that they had or anything in their lives that they would like to do differently, she started to notice common themes that surfaced again and again across a lot of patients. And I just want to read to you from her book, The Most Common Five. Number one, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Number two, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Number three, I wish I had had the courage to express my feelings. Number four, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And number five, I wish I had let myself be happier. I just want to unpack each of those a little bit more with excerpts from the book. Number one, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. This was the most common regret that Bonnie noticed most of all. She said when people realize that their life is almost over and they look back with clarity on it, she said it's easy to see how many dreams have gone unfulfilled. Most people, in her words, had not honored even a half of their dreams and had to die knowing that it was due to the choices they made or didn't make. It's so important, beloved, to honor at least some of the dreams that are bubbling up for you over these past numbers of episodes of the Dream Lab podcast. From the moment that you lose your health, it's too late. Health brings a freedom that very few people realize until they don't have it any longer. RFK said something really interesting during his confirmation hearings. And he said, healthy people have 1,000 dreams, and sick people only have one, and that is to get better. Their only hope, their only desire is to get well, is for their health and vitality to be restored. And I would say that's true. Having struggled with some health issues of my own, I would say that's absolutely true. Number two, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I don't think there's a single soul on the planet who says, gosh, I wish I had spent more time working at that job that I didn't love so much and less time with my family, less time with my friends, less time doing fun things and taking adventures. This came, she said, Bonnie Ware said, from every male patient that she spent time with. They missed their children's youth and their partner's companionship. Women also spoke of this regret, but most of them were from an older generation where many of the female patients had not been breadwinners. All of the men she nursed deeply regretted spending so much of their lives on the treadmill of a work existence. By simplifying your lifestyle and making conscious choices along the way, it is possible to not need the income that you think you do And by creating more space in your life, you become happier and more open to new opportunities, ones more suited to your new lifestyle. That is a little excerpt from that chapter of her book. And number 5, I know I skipped over a few there. I wish I had let myself be happier. This was also surprisingly common in her words. She said, many did not realize until the end that happiness was a choice. They stayed stuck in old patterns and habits. The so called comfort of familiarity overflowed into their emotions as well as their physical lives. Fear of change had them pretending to others and to themselves that they were content, when deep within they longed to laugh properly and have silliness in their lives again. When you are on your deathbed, what others think of you is a long way from your mind. How wonderful to be able to let go and smile again long before you are dying. Life is a choice, and it is your choice, is your life. Choose consciously, choose wisely, choose honestly, choose happiness. There's a verse in scripture that says, now therefore choose life. I think it might be in Isaiah. I should probably look that up really quick. It's basically, I have set before you life and death. Now therefore choose life. And I just wanted to share a really quick story from my own experience. My older brother, John, got really sick in June of 2023. And he and my mom and I were very, very close. So before our mom passed away in 2016, the three of us did a lot of stuff together. When I would come home from Los Angeles for visits, it was the three of us. So when our mom died, he and I were just absolutely devastated. And when he got sick in June of 2023, I was his power of attorney. And gosh, that was so painful. It was so hard to watch him suffer and to see him really fight to live. Like the last month of his life was so brutal and traumatizing, not just for him, but for all of us. And I remember, like, as his power of attorney, I was starting to clean out his apartment, and he had just bought like new silverware, really nice silverware. Like he didn't have very much at all. And in fact, he lived with so little that, he was so pleased and so happy anytime anyone gave him a gift, no matter how big or small, because he had just, like I was at one point, so accustomed to disappointment and having nothing, that something as simple as buying himself some new silverware was so, like, he was overjoyed at the thought of having really nice grown-up silverware and not random pieces that he had inherited over the years. And I bought most of his clothes because the last couple of years of his life, he really couldn't get out. He couldn't shop or anything. I was doing all of his shopping and things. And I was sitting next to him on his bed, and he was in his last minutes of life. And I was thinking about all of this stuff. Like, I was thinking about his silverware. I'm like, he's not taking the silverware with him. And, oh, he was just so grateful when I would pick out clothes for him. I was like, oh, I would say, John, I think the blue in this shirt really matches the blue in your eyes. And I sat there and I looked at his body as his breath just grew more and more shallow. And I thought, oh, he's not taking that with him. He's not taking his cat with him. And then it hit me. He's not even taking his body. He's leaving behind all of that and every dream that he had unfulfilled. He was leaving that all behind. And as I sat there, just anguished, so sad, heartbroken, I remember thinking, God on the other side of this realm, on the other side of the veil, all of heaven, was waiting to welcome him home with rejoicing. And on my side of the veil, I was weeping because I was losing not just a brother, but someone I really cared about. And I thought about all of the dreams that he had unfulfilled and all of the dreams that I was having unfulfilled as a result of his passing, the things that he and I had talked about doing together that his health would not allow for. So, beloved, I just wanted to encourage you that your dreams matter. They matter to God. They matter to you. and they matter to the people around you. I dare you to believe that God has given you the desires of your heart, not just for you, but for the people around you and the people whose lives that you will touch along the way while pursuing those. It might not look like you think it will. It might unfold radically differently. But I'm telling you, I really believe with all that is in me that as you begin taking baby steps towards these little things that you think God is calling you to, whether they require big faith and radical decisions or whether they just require the baby steps, I'm here to tell you, as you just begin moving in that direction, that is where God will meet you on the journey and do things for you and for other people that you could not possibly have anticipated. I really, really believe that, dear ones. And I want to just leave you with these two questions. If not you, then who? And if not now, then when? Don't wait. None of us are promised tomorrow. None of us are guaranteed anything. But right now, this moment, this very present moment, you have the power to choose. So I pray that as you turn this podcast off, that you would just spend a little time in quiet reflection to ask if there's something more God has for you in this next and upcoming season of your life. I really trust that what God has given me in the Dream Lab is not only for me, but it is for all the people who would come across it. And I really believe that it is powerful to do this internal work and to trust that the things you see and experience doing these exercises is God's heart speaking to you. That if you have asked for bread, He's not giving you a stone, and that He will meet you where you are, and that you can do this at any season of life, at any age, and God will always meet you where you are. Until next time, bye for now.